everyone, welcome back to another Use It Up video. So today I am going to be scrapbooking. I think I mentioned in another video I was cleaning my room, getting things organized. That was another video I did with an older collection, and it got me inspired to get out some more of my collections that I just want to use it up. This is Best Friends Forever collection by Echo Park. It was one of their mini themes, I'm sure you can see on here. So I'll just kind of hold that up a little. And I want to say, I believe I saw this at Tuesday Morning a couple weeks ago when I was there. I don't know 100%, but if you are interested, that is one place to find this collection should you want it. And I've never used this collection before, so I just have a couple pictures that I'm going to use with them, and I wanted to just get this used up. This is really kind of, I don't want to say my style too much anymore. It is, and I love it. It's just been sitting around though. I think what I'm not crazy about is this. I love this paper, but it's so busy. And then I find that this one is so busy and like the same colors. And then this last couple cut apart sheets and so busy. So let's take a look at the other side because I haven't even really opened this. So, oh, well, you know, these two are a little bit too close to each other as far as size-wise. I feel like there's giant stripes and giant circles, but this one goes in there really well. So I think if you took like the plain yellow, and I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I'll probably pull out a sketch. I might show you the sketch because I'll look in the page map sketches. So maybe if you used, I like this maybe in a small amount. And here's a little trick if you are trying to find papers you're not sure will match. Instead of looking at it as a huge whole, if you don't plan to use it this way, then cover it up with something else. And if you can see, just like this little section doesn't look as intimidating as this whole paper does. Does that make sense? So that's okay. This yellow is a little bit, if we were to add here, again, I don't think I would use this, although this might make a fun background. So again, I'm going to cover up a little bit. If I were to cover it up, that would actually be really fun. I don't like these two together. I don't know. I think there's just something about this, as pretty as I think it is. It just seems a little bit too much for me, but it might be cute if I mounted like the whole stripe, the layout on a stripe, or I could do the yellow. I'm just not, honestly, I'm just not 100% crazy about this collection, but we will see what happens. I will probably end up using a white cardstock somewhere in here. And whatever I don't use, if these, I might use a couple of these. I really like the yellow, so I would probably keep the yellow. Again, this is just really busy, and I don't care for the bicycles. I must have got this, I don't even know where I got it. I used to not be as good of a shopper as I am nowadays because I did kind of the KonMari method. I didn't literally pick up everything, but I've gone through my entire room, and if there's anything that I don't feel completely inspired by, like this, normally I would have gotten rid of it, but I felt, you know what, there's a few things I could probably do with that, and if nothing else, I can use this in my daily life album. So I imagine I will probably only get one layout out of this collection, and then I will see what happens from there. And whatever I will put in a daily life, I could probably, like I said, use some of it and pull in some of my own embellishments, because these are just, it's just too much of the same color and bright and big. There's no real small elements, I think, to help, and that really helps me, but we will see. So let's get started with the layout and let's see where it goes from there, and we will find out what happens. All right, bye.
Okay, now we are going to start the layout. So I'm going to use this sketch by Page Maps from their September 2019 sketches. And I'm going to use the one that I showed you. It's a single page. I'm only doing one photo for this layout. The one thing I am going to do is I'm not going to pull out any white cardstock, so be proud of me there. Sorry if you can hear my phone buzz in the background. I'll put it to the side there. Sorry about that. So the sketch called for like this main strip of pattern paper to go down along the middle of the layout, kind of more to the left-hand side, but I had originally thought I would use this yellow pattern paper as my background, but I did not like the way that the polka dot one and the striped one look together. So I decided I would try it and see what it looked like with the polka dot background. And I figured if I ended up not liking it, then I could always switch it to white cardstock. And I'm cutting to those strips for the main strip down the background. I cut them to about 8.5 inches. I just kind of looked at my sketch and figured out the size of the picture in the sketch and so on and so forth, and decided that 8.5 would be about a good size. And I originally cut this pattern or this stripe paper to go so the lines were going horizontally, but when I put them on the paper just to see what it would look like, I decided that they would definitely look better vertically, and I'm glad that I changed it. So luckily the pattern paper was big enough I could just trim it down from what I'd already cut. I wouldn't say that this is my favorite layout, but I'm okay with how it turned out. I don't hate it, but it's definitely not a favorite. But I am really glad that I got some of this kit used up, and I am only going to get the one layout out of this kit, but I'm okay with that. I feel like I'm glad that I used one instead of just giving it away to somebody else. And then I made some cards, which I'm going to talk about in another video, so I'm not going to say anything more about that, but I have a new idea and I will share that later on. So here I am. I just trimmed that stripe paper down just a little bit more, about another inch off. I don't know how tall it is. I just kind of eyeballed it again, and just made it so the yellow was a bigger section than the striped one. And the sketch also called for some pieces like borders or stickers or pattern paper to go across the entire length here in the middle. And I didn't have another pattern paper that I wanted to use. There was the one with all the words and stuff, but it was just too busy and it would not have looked good, in my opinion, to span it across the page. So I figured I would use some of those borders. But when I went to use the borders, of course, they weren't the full 12 inches. And since I didn't know where any of my embellishments or anything like that were going to go, I didn't want to put it to try to tuck it and hide it behind anything. So I decided just to cut my borders to only be the same width as those pattern papers. And I like it in the end. It does turn out good. You will see I'm going to add a little bit more to that section in a few minutes, so I will come back to that. What I'm looking at here is I'm trying to figure out my title. First of all, I wasn't exactly sure when I started this what I wanted it to be. I thought there was a card with a title on it that I could use, but I didn't end up liking any of these. So a little bit of information about the picture. So this picture is from 2010, so quite a long time ago, when my daughter was still in elementary school. Her and a couple girls really they were best friends. The unfortunate part is they got into middle school and they both they stopped being friends. Long story short, that's all I'm going to say, is it wasn't really the best of situations. So knowing that now, it made this layout a little bit more difficult. I still wanted to document this picture because they still were friends for a long time, and I feel like that was a part of her life, and so I wanted to document that still. Plus, this is a sweet picture. It's the two of them walking together as, I'm picking them up from the school. So I didn't want to use all of the elements that came with this collection that said best friends forever and besties forever, all the kinds of things that said forever and so on. And there was a lot of those. I kind of just wanted to stick with things that said friends and best. If it said best friends, I was fine with that. It was the forever part that I was kind of thrown off by. And like if I would have scrapped this photo back then, I probably would have added all those items, but I didn't, so it is what it is. Here is where I'm adding a couple more borders. Again, that's another border sticker strip. For the pink stripe, since I didn't have any pattern paper, I went ahead and I just cut one of the stripes. You can see on the stripe pattern paper now where it has that thicker pink. I just cut that stripe out of that pattern paper, and it looks like another pattern paper just cut down. So that really helped quite a bit. I decided that I really liked this word bestie though, and I wanted it to be my title. From the 3x4 cards, I did cut out that Happy Memories 3x4 card, and I was originally thinking I would journal about, how at one point in time these girls were best friends, and, they may not have stayed that way. To tell you, I didn't end up with using that as a journaling card. You will see what I do with it. I haven't done any journaling on this page. I I really can't decide actually if I wanted to say that they were best friends, you know, and talk about that, or if I just kind of want to leave it as a picture of them as best friends, because there are more pictures in her albums of them together, and that does talk about them being best friends. So, you know, I kind of feel like maybe just leave it with the good memories and not even worry about the not so good memories, right? So I'm not really sure. So at this point, there are no still photos at the end either, by the way. I'm just trying to get some videos up for you guys because I know I was missing for quite a while there. But anyways, back to the layout. So there was those two potty people girls, and I decided to go ahead and place those. I wanted to use those. I thought it was perfect because it was my daughter and her best friend. And I did pop the title up with some foam tape. It's not glued down yet, and neither is either of those arrows. But one thing when I do a layout like this, where it's like the main strip, I like to keep things, sometimes it's fun to keep everything contained into that main strip, and sometimes it's fun to have things go off of it to kind of add a little more interest. So you can see in this layout, I'm trying to make the arrows, they're not glued down all the way like I mentioned, but they are just sticking there for a moment. So one of the things I was struggling with a little bit, I think, was this card had the same pattern paper yellow background as that yellow background paper already did. So what I did was, it also had a red border. I trimmed the yellow off as much as I could, as close to the yellow border, so it was just a tiny bit of the yellow showing. And then I'm going to trim around the corners. I thought I could use a circle punch, but the circle punch was not wide enough, so I just did it with my scissors, and you can't even really tell. And I'm going to trim that up and then add some black inking. I did ink all my edges on this layout, which I normally do anyway, but it really helps with, since it's a bunch of busy pattern papers and no white cardstock, it really helps change or add that separation between the pattern papers. So that is one hint. If you feel like you just have too many busy pattern papers to maybe either outline the pattern papers with a black pen or something, or a colored pen, I guess it could be any color, or to ink your edges. I am just going to take a moment here to apologize if my voiceover gets off a little bit from what I'm doing on this screen. I'm not really sure what's going on with my computer, but it's lagging, and I don't think it shows up in the actual video in the end, but it is for me, and so it's becoming quite difficult to do these voiceovers, so just bear with me. I'll have to restart my computer or something. But so at this point, I decided I liked how everything was going, so I was going to go ahead and start gluing everything down, but there wasn't a whole lot of other things in the collection itself that I was really liking, so I decided to start looking in my stash. And first thing I went for was sequins. I looked up, and I just have these on a shelf right above my work surface, so I saw those. I thought, hey, I haven't used sequins in a while, so I'm going to pull those out and see how they look. So I'm using 3 different sequins. One's kind of a large yellow sequin. That's kind of a matte color. One is like a heart-shaped sequin that I didn't even know I had. And the other one is like a flower-shaped sequin that I believe is from Queen & Company. Then the other thing that I have that's just sitting by my desk, so this is a little bowl of vellum shapes that I punched out. At the Doodlebug event that I was at, they had some shadow box kits that you could buy, and so I bought the shadow boxes and I put them all together, and they each had vellum, and so you would cut it down to be 8 by 8 from a 12 by 12. So I had some vellum scraps left over, and this is some nice vellum. You can probably tell just from in the video that it's not that see-through cheapy vellum. This is like nice, thick, almost a pure white vellum. And so I decided I was going to take my punches, and I just took a few different punches. There's snowflake punch that I punched out, there's flowers, there's leaves, hearts, a lot of hearts and butterflies. So I thought I would try a few of those and see what they look like on the layout. And so I started to glue them down, and I really like the way they look because they're so subtle that they don't really draw a whole bunch of attention to the layout, but they're pretty enough that it just still adds something to the clusters. So another thing I want to point out, and I will be starting my cluster series here really soon, every time I think about what I want to do, I get excited, but then there's people home, so I can't do it as well. But I do have some ideas on how to get that started now and so on. But I do only have 2 main clusters on this layout, and that's not going to change. So I want you to notice that, yes, they have the rule of thirds and the odd numbers for a reason, because a lot of times they do work really well. But for the main clusters, I really only have 2. And what I'm doing to kind of offset that is I'm making clusters of 3, so it's an odd number around the layout. So there's going to be these sequins in 3 different areas, so that you can kind of call as 3, your odd number of clusters would just be the cluster of sequins. And as same thing as with the butterflies, I actually am going to add a couple more butterflies, but the way that they are, it goes in an odd number, I believe. So I can't remember for sure, but we'll have to see. But so don't think of it as you have to have exactly 3 clusters or an odd number of clusters. It just helps if you add stuff around that goes with those clusters that does make the odd number. So in this case, like I said, it's going to be the sequins. Here was a quick look at the Martha Stewart butterfly punch that I punched out of the vellum. What I decided was to add just a little bit more interest. I originally started with just yellow on each of the butterflies, and then I realized, you know what, I probably could find some other colors, and I'm going to take this word pattern paper, and I'm going to punch out some of the blues and some of the pinks of the mini butterflies, and I'm going to put those over the large butterflies. And then I'm actually going to add a couple more. So if you can see, on my screen's so little, so I'm not sure how big your screen will be when you're watching this, but the tiny butterflies that I added in vellum are on there, and I'm actually going to cover those up with another colored butterfly as well. But I'm going to offset them just the tiniest bit so that you can still see some of the vellum sticking out, but it still is more of a colored butterfly. I hope that makes sense. So you can see I just put that one there, and it's just slightly offset. And then I'm going to add a pink one, I believe, maybe up to the one on the top left. So now there's a bunch of butterflies around, and again, it's something to the layout. I was kind of happy to my goal is to use up all of those vellum shapes, so you might see me using those coming up in quite a few videos. It just was something, I didn't want to get rid of that vellum, and I just felt like it worked out really well, and so yeah. Enough about that. What I'm doing here is I'm kind of looking for any kind of words that I can use. So above the word bestie is, I can't remember what it says. Does it say best friends or something like that? That came from that sticker border. There was 2 words left on that sticker border that didn't reach across the whole page. And so I decided it would look really cute above the word bestie. And it really does look good there. But I felt like this cluster over here on the left really needed something more, and so I thought I would take a look at the different words that I had to use in this cluster. So from that pattern paper with all the different words was this word, and I cut it out from the green. I think the other one that I cut out might be green as well. It might be white with green words though, so it's a little bit different. So I'm going to take this pattern paper. So don't be afraid to cut up little elements from your pattern paper sheets as well. So yeah, this is white with, it's kind of a tealish green. It's not super green, but you know what I mean. So I'm just trimming out the word happy, and it does take me a little bit of time to get them snugged in together to make them look good, because I've already glued down those butterflies and I wasn't going to pull them back up. But I like it because it kind of filled in that space that looked like it was missing something on the left hand side. So basically this is going to be, I am going to pull out my acrylic shapes. I'm going to try a couple different colors of acrylic. I don't think I remember adding any acrylic in the long run. I will apologize if I haven't already. I can't remember that there will not be any still shot photos in the end. Like I said, I didn't really finish the layout because I'm not sure about the journaling or anything. If I do add journaling, it will just be in strips somewhere, maybe along the bottom or the title or something like that. But the one thing that I do add that I don't think I show in the video in the very end is some Nuvo drops, and they're the iridescent ones. I've never used them before, but I just put like a little strip along each of the butterflies' bodies. Oh, that is one thing that I added. So I have these paper clips that are from Two Peas in a Bucket, if you guys remember that that website from long ago. I just had these 2 stars, and I tucked one up on that photo, and I really liked the way it looked. So I wanted to add another one, and it turned out really well, and it worked out well. So that is the last thing that I'm going to add other than the Nuvo drop. So thanks for joining me again, and I hope this voiceover worked out just fine. And now I'm just going to add the date, and that's going to be the layout. So I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.